All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. For me it's good morning, but I'm sure a lot of you guys are in the mid-afternoon-ish time zone, I guess. I'm all discombobulated just from trying to get myself situated. I am leaving on a trip here after later on today. So I'm just trying to get all my stuff in check. But how you guys doing? It's good to see you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. We have some interesting things to talk about. Um, I'm just going to go over kind of some of the things I'm looking over and I'll just give you guys some updates across the board, what I'm seeing, what I'm looking for in general. And guys, this is going to be a Ask Me Anything session. So please feel free to ask any questions you might have regarding either, a certain coin I'm looking at, certain setup, ABCs in general. It doesn't have to be ABCs, it could be trading, just how I approach things. Please feel free to ask. I am going to do my best to keep my eye on chat as well as the Discord here. If you guys aren't watching or if you guys aren't in the Discord, I'm also keeping an eye on chat as well. So guys, please feel free to ask any questions you might have. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So I like to go over this just to make sure that to remind you guys the overall larger perspective of what I am looking at and what I am seeing. And from there, we can kind of take it piece by piece and get to a point to where I can show you guys the next setups I am looking for. But in order for me to do that, I kind of have to understand the larger perspective and how I view things and how um, certain setups or certain events, or at least prepare myself for different outcomes. And that's the most important things when it comes to doing this is giving you guys the tools that you'll need to be able to come up with, your own analysis, your own ideas, or your own setups yourselves. Hopefully we can um, help you guys get to a nice, clear, concise, um, I guess, formula. And from there, it'll be a lot easier to navigate the smaller time frames. Remember, I always say air quotes in smaller time frames because we usually focus on perspective. I try to keep like around like a 30-minute to a 2 hour kind of like that range, but as you guys will see, perspective is the most important thing. So let's go ahead and start here. So pretty much the all I'm looking for is ABCs. If you guys are familiar with ABCs, all we're doing is looking for, if you're looking for a bearish reversal, an uptrend, a pullback, and then continuation higher, or if you're looking for a bullish setup, you're looking for a downtrend, a pullback, and then a continuation lower. And all you're going to do is short if the C gets above the A on a bearish setup, and then long if the C gets below the A for a bullish setup. All right. And well, that's too many clicks. Let's see. And then from there, you guys will see as I go over current examples or past examples, and we get to it, to show you guys how you guys could have caught decent trades, decent setups, even reversals, or even good continuation setups, and you guys would have done well, or you guys would have been at least active in a larger move. So let's go over the larger perspective, the larger setups, the more macro setup. And to me, we have A to a B to a C to form an A to a B to a C to form a B, and then an A to a B, and then a lower low here to form and complete a C wave. Now, to me, this looks like a nice, healthy, completed setup. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't continue lower. No, it absolutely still price can absolutely continue lower. Just letting you guys know I think we're getting close to a potential bottom. I'm not saying it's going to lead into a bull market, but at least I think we're due for at least a little bit more of a larger move to the upside to retest certain higher levels of resistance. And to me, I need to see BTC get above that 17,600 level for me to be a little bit more confident in that more bullish. I don't want to say too bullish, but at least more of a bullish bias to come up and retest those areas like I just mentioned before. Um, that is the larger setup. And then the reason why I'm mentioning that 17,600 is because we do have a a bullish ABC within the C. And according to the rules, I do say that you're supposed to take the long above the A, but price has retraced so far down to the point to where there is a much larger, clear. Actually, I wouldn't say larger, but there is a large, clear, concise setup at a much lower price point. For me, that can play into the continuation of a larger possible move. That's why I'm mostly focusing on that entry at about 17,600. So that is the larger perspective. All right. And from there, we can go in a little bit more zoomed in and just, I can tell you guys what I'm seeing of what's currently is going on. But like I said before, in order for us to figure that out, we kind of have to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And I like to think of it as the macro setup is more of like you're getting the outline, you're getting like the base of it. And then from there, the smaller time frame is a little bit harder to get the rest of the pieces in. But once you have a better idea of what to be looking for, it could be a little bit easier to navigate. So knowing that, I'm going to just keep this level highlighted. All right, just to keep that there. So from here, going back to what I showed you guys before with this being an A to a B to a C. All right, from there, we have to focus on what is happening in this area of price action here. All right, to me, this looks like a larger A to a B to a C to complete an A to a B to a C to complete a B, and then we have a potential A, B, C here to form a bottom. Someone just called me. All right, anyway, sorry about that. My phone just spazzed out for a second. Just want to make sure. Okay, so knowing that, is there a position that we can take, or what are the alternatives to what is going on here? The only thing I can see besides the potential of this being a completed ABC is that maybe perhaps this C wave is not done. All right, and maybe we're forming another ABC within the C. All right, and that is definitely a possibility. I don't know exactly where price is going to go if that is the case, but knowing those are the two alternatives and the two ideas I'm looking for. For me personally, how I see things and how I view things, I can take advantage of either scenario. All right, the first, if this low here is a completed A, or if this low here completes the C for larger ABC, okay. To me, you can definitely play into the C wave, like I mentioned before. This does occur a lot, and I do like taking these types of trades. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is a bottom. I'm playing into this just in case that this is a larger potential bottom. So with that being said, you did get a lower low past the original A at around 15,450-ish. And as long as we're above there, sorry, I'll just show you guys the wick. It's an ever so slight wick, but you did get a lower low. So as long as you're below there, or sorry, as long as you're back above, once you can put in that lower low, you definitely have a bullish, some sort of temporary, if not a larger bullish bias going into play. And from there, I'm going to hold along off of that setup, and we'll see how you see where it goes. That's the primary basis of how I'm viewing things and how I'm currently trading, is that I'm trying to look for setups and to take advantage and basically make the most out of any price move that we might get. If this is going to be a large reversal off of a ABC bottom, I'm going to go ahead and take that chance, and I'm going to try to play into the larger swing to the upside if that is the case. Now, the alternative, like I mentioned before, is that maybe we're not done. Maybe this is an A to a B to a C. All right, if that's the case, the question is there a short setup within this region here that can capitalize on a potential larger move to the downside? Now, I do draw the C wave down to 12K. I'm just giving you guys an overall, just a general direction. It's not anything specific. It's not a specific target I'm looking for. this, if we're going to dump, maybe what if this is the dump that takes us to 10K? Who knows? I'm not too sure if that is going to be the case, but I have to take the trade as if it were going to happen just in case, so I can make the most out of that potential price move. So the question still at hand is there a bearish setup in this pullback to allow us to play into the continuation of the downside? To me, I absolutely think so. Let me just show you that setup. We have an A to a B to a C. Now, we did put in a higher high within the C. I did not take that just because it's a little bit too small for my liking, even though this setup here, which I have marked in the blue, is quote unquote for me a smaller setup. I want to stick to a particular in a certain perspective to where I'm not finding myself getting too zoomed in. To me, playing that smaller ABC within the C is kind of crossing the line, or you're at the line of it being too small or too zoomed in of a perspective for me to actually put any serious weight or to actually take a trade based off of that setup. So for me, if BTC can get back below that, let's see, what's the exact level? Because I messed this up last time. Or I set up my trades last time and I completely dropped the ball on that. Let's see. So that's 16,812. So if we can get back below there, I'm going to short. I have taken this trade, I think twice, I believe already. I have gotten stopped out. It is unfortunate, but given the larger stop losses that we've been using, it kind of allows price to develop a little bit further. And to that point, I like to do that, or in this case, it works out just because it allows price to develop further. And from there, if we do come back below, it's going to show a little bit more of a confirmed move, in my opinion. So I'm going to be shorting that 16,812 as long as it's below there. And from there, I'm going to let these two positions just fight out. And whatever happens, happens. The goal is to make the most out of either direction. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm looking forward to see happen, regardless of what side plays out. As long as I have a good, reasonable, smart, good, reasonable trades that I can say to myself that, hey, you know what, this was a good trade to take, regardless of what direction, I'm okay with it. So that's how I'm approaching BTC at the moment. I'm going to move on. We're just going to focus on the main coins that I'm particularly looking at to trade. And for me, it's going to be BTC, ETH, and Litecoin. So like I said, guys, if you have any questions regarding any of the setups that I have here, or anything, or anything that I mentioned before, or just anything regarding ABCs in general, please feel free to ask at any time. I'm going to even keep my eye out on chat, like I said, as we go through this. So I'm going to do my best to try to touch on any questions, but guys, please feel free to ask. So moving over to ETH, there's a couple things we got to talk about here. I want to go back to the higher perspective, higher time frame, and give you guys a better picture of what's going on here first. For me personally, I do like, actually, no, before I say that, there's a couple different variations of the larger perspective of what I'm looking at. One of them being that this is an A to a possible B to a lower low to a C. All right. That's one idea. The other is probably my the way I'm leaning primarily is this is an A, this to a B to a C, and we have a potential bottom here. That doesn't mean that this is the end, but unless that lower low is formed past that 880 region, I'm going to go with the idea that sorry, I almost had to sneeze for a second. I have the window open, so sometimes the change in temperature messes with my sinuses and my allergies. So unless we put in a lower low here, me personally, I'm going with this idea. Now, what's going on next is there's a couple different variations we can go over. The primary one I'm looking at is this is an A. We have an A, B, C to a B. And then I'm looking for a push higher past the A to form a large completed setup. And as you can see here, if that is the case, this is going to form a much larger A to a B And then from there, we can possibly go with the idea that we definitely can go down lower. But until we get a lower low past that 875, me personally, I'm sticking with this idea. And that's what I'm going with as a larger primary idea for me. There is alternatives, like I said. We talked about the first variation of what could happen is, but until we get that lower low past 875, that is a scenario I am primarily looking at. So, or the primary scenario I'm looking at. Sorry. If I go to a smaller time frame or smaller perspective, quote air quotes, because we're still on a 2-hour here. I'm focusing on this area price action. So, knowing that, what is going on here? To me, this is a larger A to a B. And then, unfortunately, we did not put in a lower low that BTC did. So I'm going with that low as a C. And the primary entry is going to be alpha that pivot at about, let's see if I can get the number close this time, 1177.5 or 1177.50, sorry. And from there, I'm definitely going to remain bullish as long as ETH can hold above that level. I am currently long off of that region. And so right now I'm just waiting on the sidelines. Now, I always say, I like to try to play both sides of the coin. What if price is in a situation to where let's say that given that the low is put in here, what if this is an A, we're coming down for a larger B, or maybe what's going on right here now in this sort of consolidation area is quite messy. Besides the major pivot, what we have here, just because we didn't put in that lower low, things do kind of change, or at least the overall setup within a smaller part of the last part of price action here is going to be a little different. The primary thing I'm looking for is, what if there is more downside? Going back to the BTC idea, what if there a setup that can possibly show, at least show me the availability for price to continue lower, to possibly test that low at 878, like I mentioned before. To me, the only thing I can see at the moment that's something that I am considering trading, that I'm going to take, is this ABC here. And for me to go short off of this setup, I need ETH to get back below 1237. If price can get back below there and hold below, then the possibilities of further downside can increase. The only reason why I'm not so dead set on that is because we do have that more major macro pivot, that bullish pivot at around 1179, 1180. So those are the two main ideas when going for ETH. I'm taking a long position. I am in a long position off at 1179, and I am looking to short off at 1237. And just like BTC, I'm going to let the two coins fight out, the two positions fight out. Oh God, I'm all over the place today. And hopefully we can get a larger answer, or at least price can make a larger move to make a more clear decision of where price wants to go. So we'll have to see how that goes. We'll have to see how price develops in the future. But those are pretty much the two primary setups I have for Ethereum. Now let's go over to Litecoin. Let's see. So Litecoin is a little bit interesting, or a little bit different, which makes it interesting. The larger perspective move, which I see here, is going to be an A to a B to a C to form an A. And then we have an A to a B to a C to form a B. And then we have a straight up shot to the upside to form a C wave. Now, to me, this completes one larger A. We do have a straight down shot. There's really no good structure here. It's just one way to the downside for a B. And then we do have a continuation for a C wave. Now, keeping that in mind, the major pivot for me is going to be that 73.29 region. If we can get back below that area, I'm definitely going to be taking shorts off of that. We'll have to see how things play out. For me personally, you do have a smaller setup here. I did not take this just because I want to focus on the larger pivots here. Me personally, just because there could be some indecisiveness. I don't know why that was such a tongue twister for me. That could be going on in the next coming week or so. Just for different reasons, just because I'll show you guys some of the other charts here in a second, but the DXY looks kind of bullish right now, even though there is still a larger bearish sentiment to markets in general. Things can easily go either way, in my opinion. So I'm just trying to give you guys both sides of the coin here. But I'll go over some of the things that I'm looking for. But that's the reason why I'm not taking the smaller setup at the entry being above 84.19-ish, the 84.20. So as long as price is below 73.51, I'm going to take a short. If we don't get that and price just keeps going up, fine by me as well. I'll have to just wait and see what price decides to do. There is no bullish setup for LTC, unfortunately. So right now, the only play at hand for LTC is the short at 73.51. So I'll go over maybe one or two alts. Anyone have any suggestions? I know, Vlad, you want me to do BNB again? But if anyone wants to chime in and want me to look at a certain coin, guys, please feel free to ask. Yeah, I can definitely do BNB. Let's see. Cool. All right. I just want to make sure I'm all caught up here. All right. So let's take a look at BNB. My keyboard is being weird again. BNB USD. So BNB is an interesting setup here. It almost reminds me of Matic. Maybe I'll go over Matic as well just to show the similarities. But to me personally, I'm looking at this from a more of a bearish perspective than bullish. The only reason why is because, yes, we do have this macro pivot off of this bullish ABC here. And I could be wrong. We are holding pretty far above that, so things do look good for BNB. But like I said, trying to play both sides of the coin here. To me, I can see this continuing down lower off of a bearish setup that I'm going to show you here in a second. But that's the larger bullish potential larger move coming if this wants to continue to the downside. Now, I know we are above that 212 macro pivot, which is the larger A, but I'm just keeping this in mind going forward. If this wants to go down further, there is a much larger completed setup, in my opinion. This is an A to a B to a C. And as long as BNB is below that 337, I'm going to be a little bit more confident in shorts. And from there, we'll have to see how things play out. I would like to see a larger setup be completed. Doesn't necessarily have to happen. We can easily just come down, put in a lower low past 251 and come back above and continue upwards from there. We'll have to see how that plays out, but we'll have to take it one level at a time. So if we get back below the 251 and we don't hold, or if we don't come back above and hold, the next region for me I would like to see tested is that 180. And that's going to complete a much larger bullish setup. And I'll be a little bit more bullish on BNB just on a larger term or larger macro perspective. So let me just mark out the pivots or the levels for you guys. Show you guys here. So basically everything in green is going to be a bullish setup with a bullish pivot. And then the red is obviously going to be shorts. And I'm going to mark out. Actually, that's all good. So just keep those in mind. I'll leave it up on the screen for a second. I'll guess I'll segue into Matic, because Matic has an interesting setup here. It's almost kind of similar. The larger, actually, I might need to do another chart. Come on, work with me. Let's do. There we go. Get a higher high. Okay. So for Matic, the main scenario I can see happening is this larger ABC forming. So possibly a lot more downside coming in the near future. The other scenario is, we can just have a slight pullback and then a continuation higher, something like that. And then we have to reevaluate this structure as it continues to complete or solidify some sort of count, or keep saying, I want to say count, some sort of setup here. But until that happens, we do have a larger potential setup here to call for those lower lows. That's going off of this ABC here. Let me just illustrate that for you guys. All right. So there's a much larger ABC with the pivot being at $1.05 and $1.052, somewhere around in that region, based off of the A here. Yeah, it's somewhere around $1.05 and 0.053052 around there. So you do have another setup, though, if you want to catch a larger potential move with this setup here. The entry being at about 89 cents. So if Matic can get back below there and sustain below, as long as keeping the larger, more macro bearish setup in mind, I think this is a good recipe for a larger potential move to the downside. So just keep that in mind. And I think, I know Matic, I correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not too sure about the actual tokenomics of Matic, but I know there's a lot of NFTs that run off the Matic network and all that stuff. And, NFTs aren't doing well. So just based off of, the fundamentals as well as what I see in the charts, definitely could call for a much larger move to the downside. So if you guys want to catch a potential short, definitely go ahead and check that out. Not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. That's something I'm looking for, as well as, you guys. I'm just showing you guys what setups you can form, and hopefully be able to identify on your own. Let's see. Looks like we got a bot in the Twitch chat here. Wonder if I can. I can't do anything with that. All right. All right, so that's pretty much it for anything crypto wise. Like I said, I'm going to let you guys ask me any questions that you might have regarding to any setups or any particular coins in general I'm looking at. Please feel free to ask. From there, we're just going to be moving forward. I'm just going to go over some traditional market stuff, and then from there, like I said, you guys have any questions for me throughout the rest of the session, please feel free to ask. Let's go over the SPY. So the SPY has a much larger ABC here, with the pivot of that bullish entry being at about 362 and a quarter. This 362 and a quarter around there. So long as the SPY is above there, it looks pretty good to me. Now, in order for me to kind of switch to the idea of a much larger continuation of the downside, I do want to see a pullback and then a continuation higher to form a much larger ABC like that. If I can get something like that, that might be a call for a larger bearish reversal. To me, this is all one continuous trend. So can it keep pumping up from here? Absolutely. I'll have to keep in mind that's ideally what I'm looking for as a structure. If things change or if things develop a little bit differently, I'll have to keep an eye on that and see how it develops in the nearer to longer term. So that's, let's see. I'll give you guys that. It's just a example. This is not the exact level, or I don't think it's gonna be an exact top. But if I can see something like this form, that definitely would be a good setup for me to short for a possible large continuation, to where this can be. Oh, that's not what I wanted. This could be something like this. That would look pretty good to me. That's pretty much it for the SPY. Dow Jones, very similar scenario here. We do have a larger ABC here. Now, as long as we're above the 29,650-ish region, I'll change that to, I'm definitely would be a little bit, definitely going to be a little bit more bullish. But if there is some sort of bearish continuation setup that forms, now for me, like I said, very similar to SPY. I think it's a little more pronounced in the Dow Jones, but this is all one continuous trend. Now, hypothetical, if this is a top, I would need to see a pullback and another continuation higher for me to go ahead and see a potential short setup forming to where this can absolutely continue further to the downside. Until I see that, I can't confidently say that. I'll just have to see how things develop in the future. But just keeping that in mind, I would like to see something like this form for me to have a little bit more of a bearish bias on a longer term / macro perspective. So, like I said, that's just an example. I don't know exactly how this is going to develop, but for me, I would like to see something like that in order for me to be a little bit more confident in the bears, or at least in the shorts. Let's go over the DXY. Now, the DXY is interesting because going back to a larger setup here, or much larger macro perspective, to me, this looks like one larger ABC to an A. And then we have an A to a B to a C here. If the DX, I think we didn't test that. We got pretty damn close. We came almost to that region on this dump here and kind of tested that region as support. If this does confirm support on a much larger time frame, that is not going to be good for assets. The only thing that can possibly back that up at the moment is if the DXY, let me give it a little bit more. There we go. If the DXY can actually get back above the, what is this, 105.32, that is going to show a much larger potential ABC to the downs, or for a reversal. And that can play into much, I'm not saying new highs, but at least a strong push to the upside. And obviously, well, I always say obviously, but if you guys don't know, there is definitely some sort of inverse correlation that's related between the DXY and assets in general. So if the DXY does well, assets aren't going to do assets in general are not going to do well. Your traditional markets, Bitcoin, crypto, in as a whole. Other markets definitely can be affected by how the DXY does, or inversely affected. So if the DXY starts doing good here and starts pumping, that could also back up the idea that, BTC and crypto in general might be due for a more downside. So we'll have to see how that goes. But that's what I'm seeing for the DXY. So just keep that in mind. If we can get back below 103 and have that break as support, that's going to be good for assets. But if we come back above 105, I think DXY definitely can retest some levels in the near future. So let's see. ES, same thing. I would need a pullback before coming up here, or coming up to another high, depending on where this decides to pull back from. And as long as we're above 3640, I'm definitely going to be a little bit more bullish. So let's see. All right, I'm going to go over gold and silver quickly, just because I've done it a good amount of times here, and there is some new updates I can potentially see. But let's see what we can go find here. I'm going to focus. I'm going to touch on quickly the much larger perspective. For me personally, we do have a much larger setup. I'm primarily focused on this. But me personally, I honestly think that gold's in a position where it can come up and put in one more high. The only reason why I say that is because actually I might have to go to like a daily. Yeah. So the reason why I say that is we do have a larger A. To me, this looks like an ABC completed. And then as long as we're above this pivot here at around 1679 off of this ABC, to me, that's going to show a little bit more strength and support, in my opinion. We do have a small bearish setup, but I'm personally leaning towards that just being a small pullback. I honestly think that gold can come in and put in one more high. We'll have to see how that plays out. But if it gets back up, if we can hold above 1679 as support, and I'm looking ultimately for a push higher in that 2075 region. There could be another scenario to where we do have a bearish ABC form somewhere in this region, something like that, anywhere in between. And that can possibly lead me to, not change my mind perhaps, but give me an alternative to what possibly could happen. So until that happens, though, those are the main levels for me to keep an eye out on. Gold's looking pretty good. Let's do silver. Now, same thing with silver. We have a mother of all EBCs on silver. I'm not too worried about that. I want to primarily focus on. Well, I might actually have to go to like a 4-day. I want to focus on this area price action here, just because we have a larger potential A to a B to a C. Now, this B might not be done down here. We can come in and put in a lower low, and then that can form a completed setup. And from there, we can definitely go ahead and pump. I'll have to see how price behaves and how price does develop in the future. But I'm keeping that macro, that larger pivot in mind. Let's take away some of this just to show you guys another situation of what could be happening. Another situation that we could be looking at is this being a larger A to a B to a C. All right. And from there, if we get a higher high past 30.19, 30.20, and we get back below, then I'd be looking for that 11.56 region to be tested. But until that happens, primarily those are the two setups I'll be looking for, and then keep this larger macro high as a larger pivot as well, just in case. So those are the main levels I'm looking for silver. And I think that's going to wrap it up as of everything I had in regards to all the updates that I was looking for in the near future. So if you guys have any questions for me, that'd be a great time to ask. Just keep my eye out in chat here. All right, I was saving the best for last, Vlad. So let's do a good old Bavarian Motor Works. Let's see. So the only thing, I mentioned this last time, is to me, this looks like a larger A. Now, until we get a lower low past that 67, 68 region, that's going to be a B. And then I'm looking for a higher high But honestly, based off what I'm seeing, this looks like a larger B forming. And I'm more on the fence of if it can stay below 84.50. I'm looking for a new low to be formed past this pivot here. So for me, I would want to see something like that. And then I can go ahead and be a little bit more confident in a larger push to the upside. But to me, I see a larger B wave with a pivot, well, a possible B to even a longer term. No, that's a larger B. I'll have to see how this behaves or how this develops. But for me, keep an eye on that 84.65, and as well as look for this low to be broken, and that can give you a much larger bullish setup to the upside. So we'll have to see how it develops from there. But those are the main levels I'm looking for BMW, and then obviously the high. If it can break that, definitely going to be calls for a potential larger bearish setup. So, like I said, if anyone else has any other questions for me, please feel free to ask. If not, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Because I'm just keeping an eye out on chat and everything. Yeah, it looks like no one else has any questions. Maybe I did a good job. Hopefully I did. If you guys have any questions for me, please feel free to after this presentation. I'm in David's Discord. So guys, please feel free to tag me in any questions you might have, as well as feel free to DM me as well. It's been a little bit harder for me to keep on my DMs recently, just because a lot of people have been reaching out to me. And thank you guys so much for asking good questions. But if I don't, I'm going to do my best to try to stay on top of that more. But yeah, so if you get, like I said, if you guys are in David's group, please feel free to ask in the Discord, as well as feel free to DM me as well. Thank you so much, Vlad. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.